Today on Taste Texas, soup is on. Chef Garth is making 3 different recipes to warm you up this winter.
So since your birthday, you figured out which end goes on which side.
And we're taking a visit to Shady Grove Ranch. We all know how much Chef Garth loves his bacon. All that and more, so pull up a chair and join us at the table. Welcome to Taste Texas. I'm Amy Kushner.
And I'm Garth Blackburn.
What are we making today?
We're gonna do a trio of soups. It's soup night.
Soup trio?
Yeah, soup trio. I think this time of year it's great to have nice, warm, with the soup that's just real
cold
filling.
Season
Absolutely.
Here, and everybody's thinking about soup and how filling it is, and it'll warm your innards. So, what do you make to warm your innards?
We're gonna start with the innard warming. This is gonna be a pork stew, actually, from Shady Grove Ranch. It's a pork shoulder, which is also called pork butt. A lot of people don't realize that.
Let's don't say that.
I'm not making a reference to butts, but it's not from the butt of the pig. It's actually from the shoulder. Butt was a term that was used to reference the widest part of an animal, which is kind of ironic.
Let's just stop there.
I'm not going to make any more comments about wide butts.
Yeah,
so,
let's leave that there.
Little salt, little pepper. Heated up our Le Creuset pan.
Yes.
And
I have to say, like, I get excited about this stuff. This is like, I don't know, a girl thing, I guess.
Pretty colors.
Pretty color. This is my favorite color.
Well, then you get to cook it.
Oh, good. Let's do it. So how much of this
about 2
fat
tablespoons.
You want in here? This is
it's pork fat.
Pork fat. 2 tablespoons. Okay.
I love how you dig right in.
Yep.
Okay, and then I'll get you started here. What I'm going to have you do, start to saute this for me.
Right.
So I'm flipping it over. I salted and peppered.
One side.
One side, and I'll get the other side.
And you're putting it the salt pepper side down.
So that when I sprinkle some more on.
Right. You love your salt, Garth.
Salt enhances flavor. Okay, and we don't have to wait. I'd like to get a little bit of caramelization, a little bit more taste from all of our vegetables we're going to be putting in. So I'm putting in some onion.
Coarsely chopped.
Yeah, pretty large size, because this is going to cook for a couple of hours in your oven. So I want big pieces of vegetables so it doesn't break down and just become a mush. So whole cloves of garlic.
Okay.
And it'll actually taste like roasted garlic. It becomes really sweet in there. Some sweet potato.
Oh,
which is good this time of year.
Idea. Yeah.
Because you think about pork, a lot of times people pair it with something sweet, like applesauce with pork chops, for example. Beef stew would typically have like a white potato. With the pork, I'm going to do a sweet potato.
Okay. Do we need to brown both sides of this meat while
we do.
We were talking about that? Okay. I'll get these flipped over for you.
These are some Granny Smith apples. So again, kind of going along with that theme of the sweetness.
I've done pears before as well.
And you could definitely do pears. I find apple does, in my mind, a better job of holding up and still being a little bit crisp, tender, even after several hours of cooking. Pears, I find, tend to get soft really fast. They might be better with like a pork chop or a pork tenderloin.
Yes.
But this is going to cook at 300 degrees for 2 to 3 hours, depending on the size that you cut the pork into.
All you're doing is just braising this meat just a little bit on both sides, adding in your veggies.
And we're going to add some celery to that now.
It's like a real roast, but chopped up pieces.
And so simple. Carrots.
Right.
Okay, now that we're getting a nice sear, getting a little bit of caramelization, we'll add liquid. So if you'll pour this 3/4 of the way up the side of the meat.
All right.
And these are some kitchen pride mushrooms. I love mushrooms in this because they're going to absorb, they're going to suck in all of that delicious flavor. These are from Gonzales, Texas.
Good.
That looks good.
Awesome.
We'll put these in.
Mushrooms need to go last. Is there a reason for that?
I could have put them in earlier, but they have a lot of moisture.
Right.
So if I'd put them in when we were starting to sear the meat and the vegetables, and then some of the moisture comes out, you would end up kind of boiling the meat rather than getting a nice caramelization on the outside.
Okay. And then red wine.
A little bit of red wine.
Yes. So you've got a lot of zhuzh going on in there.
And one more little punch of flavor is going to be some beef stock reduction. So this is that, I've used it before. It's one of my favorite little additions. I'll use about a teaspoon.
Can you get this at any grocery store?
You can, pretty much anywhere. It's gonna be on the chicken stock, the broth
All right.
section.
I need to find that.
And then for just a bit more flavor, I'm gonna go ahead and take the bone from the pork shoulder. And we'll put that in while it cooks as well.
Put it in there just so you can add more flavor to that whole dish.
Yep.
And this is gonna go in the oven.
Right, and now this is where I think it's kind of key, because I know you have talked about weight for these dishes before.
Yes,
And we've
they
got
get
Kelly
heavy.
with Le Creuset here to kind of address that, right?
This gets heavy and hot.
Yeah, heavy and hot, but I say that's where the magic happens. If you didn't have the weight, you wouldn't get the results.
Yes.
Superior results from cast iron cooking. And keep in mind, the lid is 1/3 of the weight. So once it's done cooking, you can always remove the lid as another alternative to bring to the table. And Le Creuset's cast iron is actually the lightest cast iron per quart on the market.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
yeah.
I just feel like I have something valuable. It's like driving a sturdy car. You gotta have something heavy.
Like driving a sturdy car.
It's like, it's heavy. It's gonna get the job done, that Le Creuset.
And I'm guessing you're gonna want me to be the one that puts it in the
Yes,
oven.
would you please? And be careful, it's very, very hot. So while he's carrying this hot dish, we're gonna take a quick break. But y'all stay with us, we're gonna be right back. All right, we're moving on with this delicious trio of soups.
Right, so we've got the pork meat that's stewing in
Right,
the oven.
with
that
all
Le
the
Creuset
veggies.
pan. Right now we're gonna do a little spin on tomato soup. So I'm gonna make it a little bit more kind of Latin style, a little charred. I'm going to char up one of those Amelia's Farm tomatoes,
Right?
a little bit of sweet onion, a clove of garlic, and we're just gonna get a char on the outside, put it into the pot and take that up to a simmer.
Okay, so it's just a big slice of onion, a little sliced off tomato there that you lay flat. Or does it have to be round? What happened to that?
So if you take a bite of a tomato like you're eating an apple, and then you realize that that's the last tomato that you have in your kitchen,
Something was missing
it's going to
on
be
that
a slightly
tomato.
smaller serving than what we might have planned on. So I hope that
Someone
all of
took a
y'all
little
are
bite.
willing to just have about a teaspoon each for a little sampler today.
I just had to call you on it. I couldn't.
I'm
you
shocked.
Can't
You
help.
don't usually do that.
Can't help but take a bite of those beautiful tomatoes.
All right, I'm not worried about really cooking the onion or the garlic through.
Right.
I just want to get a little bit of smoky taste to it. And then we're going to cook it through when we put it in here
Right.
and add chicken stock. So we'll go
Okay.
ahead and get that started.
Great. Now, will you puree that? Obviously, yeah. Your tomato and your onion and your
We
garlic
will,
and
we
everything.
will.
Okay.
So I'm gonna let that come up to heat. We're gonna put all of this in there. And if you don't, because I know for you, you don't like some tomato soup because it's got a lot of acidity.
Right.
Couple ways y'all can fight that. One, you can add a little bit of sugar, which
Mm-hmm.
I'm not too crazy about. Two, you see how as the tomato's charring, the skin
peel that
starts
skin
to peel
off.
up?
Right.
The skin contributes a lot to the bitterness. So
Uh-huh.
I will just char that on all sides, peel the skin off.
Okay.
And then the last thing you can do, if the tomatoes are really acidic, which I don't find that with Ben and Amelia's, is you can add a little pinch of baking soda to the soup, and it'll actually
Cut
take
that
down the
acid.
acidity.
Interesting. That's a great tip.
All right.
Baking soda does everything. It's like the
does.
best home ingredient. Okay,
Next to bacon.
next to bacon.
All right, let's make the garnish. This is going to be for our stew. We've got a little bit of hot grapeseed oil.
Right.
And we'll just check to make sure that it starts to bubble pretty quick. So I'm seeing bubbles. I want the oil, if you have a thermometer, I want the oil to be about 400 degrees.
All right.
Okay. And then we got some rice sticks, and these are going to be completely raw.
Okay.
All right, we'll make some crispy rice noodles. Put those in here in a couple of seconds.
Whoa, look at that. Wow.
All right.
The magic of,
The magic.
well, that's an interesting little thing there. I guess
Little
those need
hat.
to drain. Yeah, it looks like a little nest. Those need to drain, and you're going to salt those. Hey, I want to tell everybody about this place that we recently went to, a pig farm out in East Texas called Shady Grove Ranch.
It was.
And
It
we
was
visited
fun.
with a really great guy named Matt. Y'all take a look. All right, so tell us how you got into this business.
Well, when Matt was, well, I guess before we even met, he developed an intestinal disease called ulcerative colitis. And he just, the doctor told him, okay, we'll take these pills, you'll be fine, whatever. And so he left and went home. And a few years later, after we met and got engaged, it wasn't my fault, but anyway, he actually had a really severe flare-up and was hospitalized for about 12 days. And So we started researching. We learned, we went to this conference and they're like, okay, well, bacon is good for you and raw milk is good for you and yogurt and bone broth and organ meats and all these. And we were just like, we've never heard of this, but we're willing to try. We went home and, and started trying to find farms. We were driving to one farm for eggs, another farm for beef. And we felt like, well, there is a need for a farm that does all of this. Why not do all of this in one place? Decided to start farming.
Wow.
It really worked well for us.
Oh, sleepy dude. Oh, no.
We are not scared of fat out here. We love animal fat, we love saturated fat. The typical conventional pig nowadays is shaped like a dumbbell. Okay, real big in the front, real big in the butt, and it's kind of lean in the middle. And on top of that, conventional usually gives a product called Paline, which takes any scrap of fat they had and converts that to muscle also. Okay, people
Do
think...
they sell that for humans?
Oh,
I wouldn't.
Oh.
I wouldn't mind finding some of that. Do you have any
It
here?
sounds kind of like creatine.
On the pork itself, is there anything that you recommend to do differently in terms of cooking it or preparing it? I mean, is there anything to be aware of for pastured or heritage breed pigs?
Gotta tell you, Garth, you're a chef.
I'll figure it out.
But even for those who aren't chefs,
Yeah, give them some recommendations.
it's really hard to mess them up.
Ah, perfect food, right?
But at the same time, you just don't want to let it dry out and cook forever.
Love the pigs.
It was fun playing with the pigs. They're pretty clean pigs, too.
It's amazing. They're very active, hyper, busy little beavers over there.
They were.
You didn't get to ride one this time.
I know, a
but
little
gosh darn
disappointed.
it, next time. Okay, this is an interesting thing you have right here. I'm sure you've got great ideas for it, right?
Yeah, it's going to be a garnish for that
It's
stew.
going to be an awesome garnish. So we're going to find out how that happens when we come back. Y'all stay with us.
Eat it as a snack.
Yeah. Huh. Soups. What you got going on now?
All right, we're gonna finish off that tomato soup. I'm gonna put that into the chicken stock. I'm
Right.
gonna add that clove of garlic.
And
it's
the
still,
onion.
yeah, they're still pretty raw.
Right.
So we'll put those in, and I'm gonna add a little bit of heat. So we've got some chipotles and adobo sauce from Greer Farms, which we're gonna be
yeah.
visiting here in a couple weeks.
Uh-huh.
And if you'll put
yeah?
about a teaspoon in, try to get as much sauce and not the pepper itself. The pepper's really
I see.
spicy.
Okay, so you want the sauce out of that.
Perfect.
Like that much?
Yep, that looks good.
And you put this down in the chicken stock that was already boiling.
Right, make a big splash. And go ahead and add 2 teaspoons if you want to make
just
it
felt
really
like it.
spicy. We'll let that cook for about 5 or 10 minutes. It'll soften everything up. And then when we go to puree it, I'm gonna puree it, instead of just with cream, I like to add more flavor to it. So this is Full Quiver Farms. It's a
Right.
cheese made with chives. And then also, and I can go ahead and put this in now, a little bit of milking, half and half. And cream rice to the top. That was what was on the top of that. Let that simmer for 5 or 10 minutes.
Right.
And now we'll make the cold soup, which I know you don't like, but I'm gonna try and change your mind today.
I bet you will. I bet you will.
All right, so let's start dumping some ingredients and we'll go over what they are. This is Greek yogurt.
Okay. Yeah. Whoa, I think I got my hair.
That's still not payback for the other week when you got me with the goat
Thanks
cheese.
for the conditioner, Garth. Okay.
Happy to help.
Yeah.
Put that fresh spinach in.
This is spinach. Okay.
I'm gonna put a clove of garlic in.
Uh-huh.
I'm gonna put some parsley in. That's mainly gonna be for color.
Okay.
You squeeze a little bit of that
Half of the lime.
juice.
Right. I can get that juice out of there. Sometimes they're nice and soft, and other times they're really firm.
Yeah, this time of year would actually be better for even Meyer lemons if you have a Meyer lemon tree at home or a friend that does. Okay, some spice. This is going to be a fresh jalapeno. Now I'm looking for the one that doesn't have a lot of brown lines on it because those are the ones that are going to be really spicy because they
Right.
were exposed to a lot of sunlight.
Easy.
Now I'm just going to use the bottom portion. I don't want a ton of heat.
Okay.
Y'all can use either some green tomatoes, like we got from Amelia's farm, or tomatillos, which you can find in most grocery stores. We'll put
Right.
that in.
Just little tomatillos.
And then about half of a cucumber.
And you don't need to peel it or anything?
No.
Wow.
I do want some salt and pepper, though.
Okay, I can handle that. Let's see, where'd you go? Oh, here it is. These little crocs are so cute. Okay. Do you want to put that in here?
Sure.
Is that good?
Yeah, that looks good. A little bit of pepper.
Sure. That's enough?
Yep.
Okay. So, let me ask you, if you don't have this thing at home, what are we going to use?
You could use a stick blender.
Uh-huh. What?
You can use a stick blender, like we're gonna use with this tomato soup. I encourage you, in fact, to use a stick blender when you're pureeing hot soups because they're less likely to explode like they would.
Especially if you use it down in that Le Creuset pot. I've done that before with that new thing. Yes, it works awesome.
Oh, good.
Just saying.
Did you want to attach that?
Sure. It's been a while.
Oh, so since your birthday, you figured out which end goes on which side.
Yeah.
Never mind. So you just lock that in.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to turn down the heat.
Okay. Yeah, and you do want to stand back just a little bit because it might go.
If I could angle that, you'd be in trouble.
So the tomato, the onion, the garlic in chicken broth, and then you put in some heavy cream.
Right.
Okay.
And then why don't you, actually that's half and half. You could use heavy cream if you want to. Why don't you add a little bit of butter?
Yes.
Layla Farms out of Garland, Texas.
All right. A little bit or a lot?
A little bit for you, I know, is like 3 or 4 tablespoons.
I feel like I need some more love. Let's try that. All right,
That's
there we
good. And then add this will be about 1/4 cup of their chive cheese.
Okay, and if you can't find, where can you find this actually? I'd like to know.
You can find it at a number of high-end grocery stores. Whole Foods does carry it. If you cannot find the Full Quiver Farms product, you could substitute Boursin cheese instead.
Yeah, that's a good substitute. But this is the Full Quiver Farms farmstead cheese chive cheese spread.
Is that not more than a mouthful there?
Well, we got to know exactly what we're putting in there.
So the tomato soup is ready to go.
That's it?
Yep, that's it. I'm going to show you a garnish that we're doing that for the finish.
Yes.
We've got the cold soup that's ready here with some jumbo lump crab when we plate that up. The stew is about done. We've got our crispy noodles. It's all going to come together when we come back.
Night. Are you cold? I'm cold. We're going to be back with more. Y'all stay with us.
All right, we are back in the Sub-Zero Wolf Prep Kitchen here at the showroom on Lemon Avenue, and I'm getting ready to make a delicious 5-minute meal. It's more of a side, but it's gonna be great for the holidays. We're gonna do a root vegetable stack. I'm not normally a big fan of root vegetables, but everything's better with butter. So we're gonna add a little bit of herb butter to it, bake that off, and we're gonna have a delicious 5-minute meal. We'll start by peeling some Texas sweet potatoes. I've got a Damascus Farm turnip, so we're gonna peel the turnip as well. All right, now I've got some fresh parsnips. And now we're gonna get ready to slice and dice. I'm gonna use a mandolin. We're gonna hit it with the parsnip as well. Careful about that shrapnel flying at you. And then finally our fresh turnip. All right, so this is enough to make about 6 stacks. And to doctor this up, I want to make a little bit of herb butter. So I'm going to start with Lucky Layla Farms butter, which is out of Garland, Texas. Then we're going to use some fresh herbs. These are from Ethan at Generation Farms. So a little bit of rosemary, some thyme. Okay, now we're going to add this to our butter. A little bit of salt and pepper as well. And if you didn't let your butter come to room temp to soften, I would never admit to this, but you could soften it in the microwave for about 15 to 20 seconds. We'll just mix that all in. All right, so now we're gonna stack our root vegetable stack. I'm gonna start with a little bit of sweet potato, sprinkle each layer with some salt, some pepper, and then a little bit of that butter. You don't need to worry about spreading it out evenly as it melts. It'll spread out on its own. Got some of those turnips. Again, salt, pepper, a little bit of the butter. Let's do a round of sweet potatoes. I like to double up the sweet potatoes because I think they add more flavor with a little bit less of the kind of pungency that you get from turnips and from parsnips. One last layer of sweet potato, salt, pepper, and that last little bit of delicious butter. We're gonna bake this in a 350-degree oven for about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the thickness that you decide on, and then we'll be ready to serve. All right, I pulled my root vegetable stack out of the oven. It's nice and tender and caramelized. For those of you that don't appreciate butter quite as much as I do, you can actually pour off that excess butter. It helped it cook more evenly, but you don't have to serve it on there. Then we're gonna flip it over onto our greens. We'll garnish this with a little bit of Milk King cream. And then some of Ethan's fresh herbs for something a little over the top. So this little over the top garnish for our Generation Farms herbs for that 5-minute meal and your delicious root vegetable stack. Y'all enjoy.
Well, soup is on, finally. We've got all this ready to go. Let's bowl it up.
Plating it up. So why don't you open up the stew?
Oh,
and I know you were wondering what I was going to do with this. I was not going to puree this.
Would you look at how gorgeous that is? That's
perfect.
like meaty goodness.
So put some of that meaty goodness in that bowl right there.
I will. And you left those bones in there for
Really
more.
add that extra flavor.
Yeah. Wow. Veggies and all the zhuzh.
While you're doing that, I'm putting that chipotle and
This is
Amelia's
so
Farm
good.
tomato soup in
So,
this middle bowl.
If you didn't like one kind of soup, you're for sure gonna like at least
One way or
of
the other.
three.
I got a
right?
1 in
Gonna-
3 chance to
That's right.
make you happy one way or
I
the other.
gotta fill this sucker up all the way because this is gonna be. I think
That's
this
a
is gonna be my
little-
favorite. I need,
Wow, it's up to the edge.
I need some cornbread to go with that one.
Well, here's what I'm putting with this one,
Tell
and
me.
this recipe is on our website. It's
Yeah.
my Parmesan encrusted bacon croutons. So
This is like your recipe.
It is.
This is like your thing, right?
I use it all the time. So you
Yeah.
can't go wrong. Parmesan and bacon together into one little crunchy.
Okay, sure. Thank you.
Okay, and then
It
the
is
last
crunchy.
one.
Yeah. And then about this green cold soup. Green soup. Looks like an avocado mixture.
Well, actually, you could use avocado in this. It'd be really good as well.
Yeah. And truly, like, it's cold. What do you call that?
A cold green soup.
Okay, but what is the name
Oh,
of
it's
this
a
right now?
cucumber yogurt soup with a
Okay.
little bit of, I'm gonna turn that down, with a little bit of jumbo lump crab meat
Oh, now we're talking.
and all that acidity from the cucumber. I'll just keep putting it
Yeah.
in there.
That looks
And
so
the lime juice and the
good.
tomatillo. And I'll just keep putting it in so some of it sits up on the top.
And then let's talk about this beautiful puffy thing here. Where do we find these rice noodles?
In the Asian food aisle of your grocery store.
Any grocery store has
Yes.
these?
Well,
Really?
They're called rice sticks. So
Do you know my 13-year-old would love to do that, throw that in that grease and watch those things? He would do that all day. If you ever
sounds
need
like a
somebody to make those, if you ever need somebody to make those, I bet you Jackson would do it for you.
Well, then we will have to send some home with you. So
Yeah,
we'll
let's do
garnish
it.
this on the stew.
Oh, you're gonna put that on a stew. I was thinking cornbread, but if you want to do the rice
No, and
noodles,
so once
that looks
that
awesome.
absorbs some of the liquid, it'll be
Yeah.
kind of like noodles again. You got a little crunchy, you got a little delicious,
since
savory.
This would probably be my
Okay,
least
this is-
favorite.
Let's see if I can't change your mind on that one.
Totally changed my mind.
That was an easy,
Yeah, I'm an easy sell.
easy win.
I like that.
Well, now y'all can get these recipes on our website,
For sure.
tastetexastv.com. Also on our social media, which will be Facebook,
Delicious.
Twitter, Instagram.
That's right. That's where we hang out.
Come check
so y'all
us out.
join us. Delicious
Good.
soups.
Thanks
Thank
for your
you
help.
for doing that. Wonderful food. Y'all join us next week. Thank you. I love that. Look at that.